have the liberty to decide for themselves.
Right.
Because I was basically a very hardcore lawyer, adversarial
Yes.
system में जिसका पूरा belief था. So the alimony amount was settled. We were almost on the table of getting the settlement drafted. And then suddenly the wife remembered, and then she said, I want all my paintings back. Those brothers were living together for a long time, years. So when they came together, they were holding hands of each other.
Now they did not want to get separated. Okay.
Seriously, that was a situation I am telling you. I got so emotional and I was little taken aback. Anyone and everyone who is actually wanting to practice as a mediator needs to have a firm belief that this dispute resolution mechanism is the most effective dispute resolution mechanism.
So hi and welcome everyone to the Mediators Talk podcast by Allahabad Mediation Center. We have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Anoop Kumar Srivastava, who is a lawyer at the Allahabad High Court and one of the most senior mediators available not just in the state of Uttar Pradesh but also in the entire country. He has been into mediation since its formative years. Advocate Anoop has a huge experience in mediation, and one of the best things that he has done is that he has also made solid attempts in translating the work on mediation into vernacular language, especially Hindi, so that it is accessible to people. Mr. Anoop is also traveling across the country, training not just advocates, but also sometimes judicial officers. He under the aegis of MCPC Supreme Court, and I can vouch for one thing that Advocate Anoop is one of the most accomplished lawyers, one of the most accomplished mediators, but he is also a fantastic human being. And I'm so glad to have you, sir, for this interaction. As a mediator myself, it is a proud moment to have you on this podcast, and maybe out of interactions, all of us will be gaining, and the listeners will also be getting a lot of insights on mediation. So, if you can just start with your.
Thank you. Thank you, Umar. Thanks a lot for taking me on board for this particular podcast. And let me be very frank that this is my first attempt at anything to do with a podcast, And you have given a very elaborative introduction of mine, which I don't think I deserve that kind of an introduction, because I basically treat myself as a very common man. I'm basically a common man, but incidentally, I'm into law practice. So I've been practicing for last 28 plus years before the Allahabad High Court at Prayagraj. So I'm basically a lawyer. And during this phase of my practice as a lawyer, I came across mediation in 2006, 2007. And that was the time when actually mediation as a dispute resolution mechanism was not very popular.
Right.
So people hardly knew anything about it. And when this offer came to me, frankly speaking, I also had hardly any information about mediation.
Right.
So, to get attracted with mediation was not the case in my case. But once I underwent the training of mediation, there I found it very empowering.
Right.
I, for the first time, I thought that parties have the liberty to decide for themselves.
Right.
Because I was basically a very hardcore lawyer, adversarial system mein jiska pura belief,
right.
That kind of a lawyer. And suddenly I was finding this very simple way of helping the parties to resolve their own dispute.
True.
By their own sweet will,
Right.
So there was hardly any direction or orders that has to be given to resolve a dispute. So that was a very appealing thing to me when I came in this process of mediation.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, I continued to practice as a mediator. Right. And sometimes you have some inherent skills of a mediator. You know how to tackle people, to know how to deal with the emotions of the people. And
Right.
that probably helped me to become a better mediator, I think. And then this opportunity came to become a mediation trainer. That came all of a sudden. I was not aware actually that I am being judged for that. There was this training program going on, and suddenly at the end of the training program, I came to know that my name has been selected to become a trainer. So that also came very incidentally to me.
Incidentally.
Yeah. So it was in 2016-17. Then we underwent this training of trainers, and then many phases of advanced training of trainers. At least I think 3 or 4 advanced training also I have undergone.
Okay.
And during that process of advanced training as a trainer, we were also conducting 40 hours training programs for the
Okay.
lawyers and judges, in equal numbers.
Okay.
So practically I have like given same numbers of training to judges as I have given to the lawyers. And
Fantastic.
then there are a few states, in India where
Mhm.
they are also taking people from different phase of life, not
Mhm.
only from legal field, people
Right.
from social field, then experts in their own domain, like
True.
engineer in chief
Great.
or a chartered accountant or a maybe principal conservator of a forest. So
Right.
I have
People who have a subject matter knowledge, basically. Yeah.
yes. So we have taught them also, given them a 40 hours training.
Right.
So that was also a very empowering and very a good learning process for us also. To when you give a training, you get to interact with different people, and they are all
Yes.
very experienced people, and they
Right.
are all expert in their own domain.
True.
So
True.
you also start gaining a lot of things from them. So
So,
that way,
what is your area of expertise, sir, as far as mediation is concerned? Do you do commercial mediation, or you're also interested in family mediation?
accredited mediator
Right.
uh, with the Allahabad High Court Mediation and Conciliation Center.
Right.
So we basically conduct mediation which are court referred, right? So the maximum number of reference is in the family disputes, of the
Right.
family disputes and matrimonial cases.
Right.
But then there are cases from commercial background also, like check bouncing matters,
Right.
commercial disputes, contractual disputes. And then I have also handled cases of property disputes. And in fact, one of our chief justices, he once experimented with the mediation, and what he did, he referred second appeals, first appeals,
Okay.
and labor disputes, rent control matters.
Okay.
So these matters also to the mediation center, and since we were one of those seniors people, so those
Yes.
matters also came to us,
Mhm.
and we had a great number of success in those matters. So this exposure with the tenancy matters, and second appeal, you can imagine, person must be fighting his case for the last 20 or 30 odd years.
Understood.
A second appeal is, and those second appeals which were pending since 2000 in the High Court itself.
Right. Right.
So old second appeals were referred to us. So those matters were very hardly contested matters where almost third or fourth generation of family members were actually involved in the dispute.
Yes. 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 And
So
then they saw the magic of mediation, basically.
yeah, in
Yes.
some cases we were successful, in others we couldn't be successful because
Yes.
this adversarial process which is embedded in the mind of the people,
Yes.
at large,
Mindset is crucial.
litigants,
Yes.
it
Right.
is actually difficult to take it out from them and ask them to now become collaborative. Because
Hmm.
then they start thinking about their losses which they have suffered in those last 30, 40 years,
Right.
pendency of case. So losses of relationship, losses, financial losses, then maybe land loss or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that way, it becomes a little hard, but with our experience and, at times we get success also. So
Great.
that
Any particular mediation that you remember, sir, that you really felt happy after that, that you could really change the lives of the people?
see, with my experience of almost 18 years, as a mediator, a practicing mediator. So I'm a practicing lawyer as well as a practicing mediator. So in this period of time, I have handled more than thousands of cases. And several hundreds of them have, of course, got successful.
Yes.
Now, actually pinpointing and remembering any particular case will be actually very difficult for me. And I was expecting this question from you. And this is one of the most difficult question which I always face.
Yes, because there are so many, it's difficult to choose sometimes.
So,
Yes.
but I would definitely share with you some interesting facts about how these cases had come before me and what kind of dispute was there. There was this case where lower middle class family was in dispute and it was a matrimonial dispute. So this husband was really agitated by his wife, with his wife, and the wife was a little docile kind of a lady and she was not responding much.
Mhm.
So this, I asked this, I took a single session with the one of the parties, and this man, he said कि दाल में नमक हमेशा ज्यादा डाल देते.
Oh,
Just imagine the intensity and the frivolousness of the case, of the dispute.
yes, yes.
He said कि दाल में नमक ज्यादा डाल देती है और जानबूझ के डाल
Mhm.
परेशान कर. आप समझ रहे हैं? तो I found it very hilarious then, but then I thought कि यार ये इतना intense हो चुका है कि now they are into this 498A case has been
Yes.
and criminal cases there. Lot
True.
of other cases were also there. So I asked the lady also, and she said that she never realized that this is happening, and he has never said so. है ना? That कमाल की
He
बात
never
यही है.
expressed it. Yes.
So that is one hilarious incident I would say that I remember. Though they then they like resolved their dispute and they went together. So it was a good happy ending story there. But there was this another case, where the parties were going for a mutual divorce.
Okay.
And this was a case where the parties were married for the last 4 or 5 years. So it was not a very old marriage. And then this mutual divorce was happening on the term of permanent alimony. So the alimony amount was settled. We were almost on the table of getting the settlement drafted. And then suddenly the wife remembered and then she said, I want all my paintings back. So I said, paintings? But I was also not, she said that she had been painting those, she was good at painting and she had painted some of the, there were number of paintings of hers, which she had brought from her family to the in-laws family when she got married.
Okay.
So they were all lying with the husband side. And she suddenly said, until unless those paintings are returned to me, I'm not going to sign this again. So then I asked the husband and he said, हाँ, paintings rakhi to hai. So I said, then why don't you return it to him? So he said, मैं कर दूंगा. किस condition में है, I don't know. So she again got agitated and then I had to specify them and then I had to adjourn that settlement on that particular day. I had to fix a date between the parties and then the paintings were returned. They came back again and then the settlement happened. So these are the kind of emotional,
yes, aspects
feelings which are there and which are very, they are very intense.
Yes, yes.
And for us, for a common man, we could think, "Arey, ye to bada choti si baat thi." But it is not like that. These actually are very intense feeling of a person.
And these are intangible things, and I don't think that in a court of law these things can actually feature as prominent issues.
No, never. It will never come. It will never come as a. Even those kind of evidence will also not be there before the court to actually take a notice of.
True.
So adversarial system is absolutely no for these kinds of dispute. So I would also like to share one more incident of mine.
Sure.
Conducting a mediation, and that case actually did not succeeded.
Okay.
It gave me absolutely a new perspective about handling emotions of people who are involved, as well as handling emotions of people who are not involved in the case directly,
Okay.
but they are actually getting affected. Now, this was a story of young couple. They were Muslim couple. They had actually got married of their own choice. They were in love. They got married, probably against the consent of their parents. But once the marriage happened, the parent also consented, and two sons were born out of that wedlock. Right. The wife was living. The wife had only her mother as a parent. Father was no more there, and this guy was. They got into dispute, and then they were living separately when they came to us, to me, and they were living separately for almost 1.5 or 2 years. And they were both the kids were actually with the husband. They were living with the husband. The younger kid was about 5 years of age, or maybe 4 years of age.
Okay.
And the elder one was of about 8 or 9 years, or maybe 7, 8 years. So that I'm not very sure about, but that was the difference between about 4, 5 years of difference. So when they started with the mediation, they ultimately came to a juncture where they decided for a mutual divorce. They were not able to live together.
Okay.
Now the custody of the child was in question. So this younger child was also living with the husband. So the wife was asking that the younger child should be given to me, and husband has agreed, because husband was little, more reasonable than the wife, and probably what I found, the mother of the wife was little more of a hindrance and obstacle in that relationship. So she was actually being governed by her mother. So they ultimately zeroed in on the fact that one child will be taken by each parent on the as a custodian for custody. And so एक natural instinct होता है ना human being का कि छोटा बच्चा है तो ये mother के साथ रहेगा, बड़ा वाला फिर नहीं बचेगा.
Right.
So I also found it quite logical, and then but somehow I said कि all right, next date पे you all come and please bring the child.
Right.
Those those brothers were living together for a long time, years. So when they came together, they were holding hands of each other.
Now they did not want to get separated. Okay.
Seriously, matlab, that was a situation I am telling you. I got so emotional and I was little taken aback. Now the elder son, no, the younger one was constantly crying. And the elder one, yes, and the elder one was being taught कि बेटा ये छोटे भैया को जाने दो, है ना, मम्मी के पास रहेगा. So he was little, stable, but he was also very emotionally charged. The wife was of the logical conclusion कि हाँ भाई छोटा वाला बच्चा मेरे पास है. And they were not leaving each other's hand. And this is the body language which I was observing of the parties. Now the parents were deciding the custody. They were not asking the children,
Right.
whether they want to actually live with mother or father, or how they want to live.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then because of that intensity of emotion and the manner in which the younger child was crying, and he was saying, नहीं नहीं मैं भैया के साथ ही रहूंगा, I will not leave him, है ना, मैं भाई के साथ रहूंगा, भाई के साथ रहूंगा. That kind of thing was going. So I said, okay, wait, we are not going for a mutual divorce right now. Now custody has become more. So first you have to decide whether both the child are permitted to live together, either with the wife or with the husband.
Correct.
So they could not decide it then. And I had to actually fail that. I had to send it back. But that was the time when I actually realized
Right.
that human beings, we take these decisions for a third party.
Yes.
On our own sweet will. But they are also living beings, Maybe they are child, they are a minor, but ultimately you have to take the feelings of the child also into consideration.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Otherwise, anybody of logical mind would say, हाँ दो बच्चे हैं ना, ठीक है, एक को रख लो, एक को रख लो. It is so common with us,
So,
but that gave me absolutely a very new perspective.
So the fact that you could take emotions of not just the primary parties into consideration, but also of the other stakeholders.
Yes,
And
third
especially in
party
family
interest.
matters, I think minors are often at the center stage, and this gives us a very fresh perspective that a mediator should always be also considerate of the effect of the family matters on minors as well. So I
Yes.
think this is something great that you
This
have
was
shared.
an eye opener for me, and
True.
that is why it is said that you have to take into consideration of the feeling and emotions of all the people
All
who
this.
are actually getting affected with that particular dispute.
True.
है ना?
True.
Sometimes the parents, the husband and wife, they decide, all right, my father will come over and live with us here.
Right.
Now the father is in the habit of living at his uh, uh,
At his
house,
place. Yes.
native place for a very long time. And you
True.
are not asking him whether he actually wants to shift to a city. He would
Hmm.
like to live in the village itself.
True.
है ना? So that kind of third party interest needs to be taken care of when we are actually conducting it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And
So
I'm sure when the audience would be listening to these three case studies, they would be coming to know about the nitty-gritties of mediation, how it actually translates at the ground level. And I think, so that here lies the magic of mediation, where the parties can open up emotionally. Other people's perspectives can also come into place. So perspectives, communication, emotions, all of that is
oh,
at the heart of mediation. And I think you have brought it
that
out
is that. Well,
beautifully. You
very
have
true.
brought it
Very
out beautifully in your exposition, sir, by sharing these case studies. Now, Uttar Pradesh is a state which is having a good court annex mediation practice. But as far as mediation as a culture in the legal fraternity and even in other streams are concerned, like we see it getting developed in the southern part of the country, how do you see the future of mediation in the state of Uttar Pradesh?
So if I would say it in one line, I would say generally mediation, concept of mediation is going well in the state
Right.
of Uttar Pradesh, so far as state of Uttar Pradesh is concerned. And actually, since I have been involved with this, uh, the process of training
Right.
in Uttar Pradesh,
Right.
and largely in any training program, we are the first persons who are asked to come over as a
True.
trainer. So we did got a big exposure
Mm-hmm.
the extent the state of Uttar Pradesh is concerned.
Yes.
Now, see, state of Uttar Pradesh is a big state,
Hmm.
so there are big numbers involved in the state of.
That's true.
And when big numbers are there, then big challenges are also there.
True. True.
So we cannot compare the state of Uttar Pradesh and its challenges with the progress of mediation in maybe some other smaller states.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I've been exposed to the state of Kerala also.
Right.
So they are doing wonderfully well, I would say.
Yes. Yes.
And even small pockets of mediation centers are doing excellent work.
They have made it a cultural actually exercise. It is not just limited to the courts, but it has become a
Uh,
part of their lifestyle also. Yeah.
their lifestyle also, and people are on the private side also they are involved.
Yes.
They are not
Yes.
depending on the state and administration only or the courts only.
True. True.
Then.
Right.
But when it comes to Uttar Pradesh,
Hmm.
though it is a big state where 75 districts are,
Right.
and more than I think 2,500 judicial officers are working in the state.
Right.
And I have come across these numbers because we have trained,
Yes. Yes.
right? Then the equal number of advocates for each district, and then the tehsil mediation centers or area centers which are built.
True.
So that is the kind of numbers. And
Mm.
in fact, some of the training programs which has been conducted way back in 2018 at Lucknow Judicial Training Research Institute, they were big numbers of training where almost 30 25 to 30 trainers from all over India were called
Right.
at a one go. And simultaneously, six batches of training program was going on at the same time in JTRI. So JTRI do have that kind of infrastructure that they can hold such training programs for advocates and judicial officers.
True.
So generally, it is going well.
Mm-hmm.
People are now aware about
Getting
mediation.
aware. Yes.
They are taking the recourse to mediation also as one of the dispute resolution mechanism, apart from case.
Okay. Okay. So you are one of the stalwarts in mediation, and a lot of us see a lot of promise in the power of mediation because of its sheer dynamics, the way it functions, and the way it takes party autonomy into consideration, the way it allows the party to be creative and allows the mediator to be creative, and the way parties have a complete control over it. All of that makes mediation a very, very satisfying exercise. So I'm so glad that you could give us the time for this, and thank you for that. Before closing this, I'm sure there would be a lot of things that the young lawyers or young mediators who are starting in the field of mediation would like to know from you. So, what would be your message to them? How they can plan out their career, and perhaps what should motivate them to get into mediation? I think that would be great as a closing remark.
See, for young lawyers, I would say persistence and perseverance. These are the two qualities that they will have to take care of when they are actually practicing mediation.
Right. True.
So they will have to work really hard.
Yes.
Why? Because they are the flag bearers of mediation.
Yes. There's no shortcut to success.
There is no shortcut to success. Since they are flag bearers, they will have to keep the torch burning of mediation. So that can see anybody would succeed in his profession only when he himself has the belief and conviction that this is the right forum for the party.
Right.
So anyone and everyone who is actually wanting to practice as a mediator needs to have a firm belief that this dispute resolution mechanism is the most effective dispute resolution mechanism for all kinds of civil litigation, family matters, commercial disputes, contractual disputes. Even I have come across, since I'm into arbitration also, I have come across now the contractual agreements wherein the clause for arbitration also contains
a clause on mediation. Yes.
Clause of negotiation and mediation.
Negotiation. Yes.
That is the prerequisite that you first attempt negotiation and mediation.
True.
If that fails, then you can go for a invoking of arbitration clause.
Right.
For the dispute resolution. So that kind of awareness is coming now.
True.
But new lawyers and new mediators need to understand this process. Because understanding will give you the conviction to believe.
Right.
And that is going to help you in long.
Thank you so much, Advocate Anoop. And this has been one of the best expositions on mediation. We don't have a lot of content on mediation on YouTube. And this is something that I have also tried to explore first. So this is a humble attempt from SMC to actually put a substantive, good content on mediation on the virtual platforms so that it becomes easily accessible for the people who are really interested in the field. So I thank you for your time, and this has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Umar. And what little I know about you, you are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
And as I said, to be a flag bearer, you are actually holding that responsibility very well. And whatever little you are doing is very appreciable, and I would give you all my regards and blessings, and would of course will be there whenever you need my help, है ना? Because I am always there for anything and everything.
Yes, mediation at the end is collaboration.
It is
Right,
collaboration. Of course, it is.
yes, yes.
So
Thank you
thank
so
you so
much.
much, dear. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.